Greetings, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's our live Q&A brought to you by Ashala Yardley's YouTube channel every Tuesday. Here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Once again, this week I'm on my own, but we've got a special feature next Tuesday. Looking so forward to connecting with all of you then. I'm going to have both Crystal and Anita on with me. We're going to be answering your questions and also revealing our big promotional launch for the fall. So come on over to next week's live Q&A, and I look forward to sharing with you there. I've just been clearing the cards. This is how I kind of prepare for the session. And it looks like there is a question coming in, a personal question coming in from Frederick. Disability claim going, will I receive a positive answer on the 1st of October? Okay, Frederick. Hi, Ricky. And hello, Linda. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Angela. Please bring your questions on over while we're getting started. I'm just going to quickly pull a couple of cards for Frederick about his disability claim. I love doing the occasional personal card draw on here, and I also really appreciate you sharing questions that are relevant for all of us. So quickly here, Frederick, let's have a look. We've got this position, recent past, a dynamic, I want to say activating energy, Page of Wands, present, looking a little bit compromised at the moment. We've got our devil character in the center position. And our next step. So it looks like, I'm going to pull a couple more qualifiers on this. It looks like there could be something going on in the system that causes disruption. And we've been hearing about this over the next, let's say, 6 or 8 weeks. So there could be delays. It could look like things are not going well. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to go through this period, and I'm getting about 3 months for things to stabilize. So I apologize if that, look at this. I believe this is the transfer over of power that we've been seeing in the cards for the last few years now. And, I don't ever get that everything's just going to shut off entirely. I get more that we're going to see disruptions in different, let's just say in different programs. So it's not all going to, like if you were in charge of transitioning an entire social, political, economic system, would you just stop everything and then start everything up again? Like, it's obviously more effective and less disruptive for people if they work on different areas, slowly rolling out new systems. So in that transfer of power, because the devil character often represents power, control. And in that transition, let's just say the next 6 or 8 weeks, 6 to 9 weeks could be going through a big shift, a big change, but in due time, which may not be your timeline, I apologize, Frederick, but it does feel like what is coming will be better than what you anticipated. 3 of Pentacles is really good new system approach, a system that isn't just about, power dominant models, which is this devil character. It's actually about new systems that are flexible, dynamic, systems that don't just replace one power dominant model with another one, but replace the power dominant model with something that is continually, I want to say, evolving and upgrading. Something that is stable but flexible. Those are key words for our future, everybody. Stable but flexible. We've been programmed to believe that stability is about rigidity, no flexibility and stability, right? I mean, that's how I was raised. You lock yourself in to a mortgage. By the way, if you look at the etymology, the meaning of the word mortgage, it means being engaged till death. Like, okay, the word mort, mortician, morgue, it relates to the French word of mort, which is death, basically. And gauge is engaged. So engaged to this, agreement, this contract for the rest of your days. So we've been trained to think that stability is about locked in, rigid, top down, power dominant models. That's what gives us stability and security. We are shifting into dynamic, flexible, evolving win-win-win models. And so some of these things, like, I don't know, claims, pensions, I think they're going to be better than they ever were. And I think going through the waiting period, even though it's very disconcerting, I get a positive outcome. So feel inspired about that. And it did somehow relate into things that are relevant for all of us. So thank you for your question, Frederick. Okay, let's see. Angela, hi, coming in and saying, do we have a different sun now? Do we have two suns? Are we going to get more? Oh, I love this question, Angela. I really have always been so, I want to say, curious and had a good feeling about the two sun narrative. It is in the Hopi prophecy. And the Hopi prophecy, for those of you, for those of you who are not familiar with the Hopi prophecy, it's basically about indigenous peoples from the southwest region of North America have this prophecy that's ancient, has been passed along through the generation, and it is about the times of transition that we're in. And they're saying that one of the markers of this is that two suns will appear in the sky. So let's have a look at that, because I haven't thought about that or looked at it for a really long time. Let's see what our cards want to tell us about that right at this time. And are there going to be more suns? Interestingly, the other piece that I'm hearing is that I remember hearing this years ago, that we have three different types of suns. We have yellow suns, red suns, and blue suns. So the primary colors, we have suns in each of those colors. I heard this, I don't even remember where, like decades and decades ago. And one of the things that I was shown about this time and the second sun is that it would be in the blue spectrum. So let's just see, are we going to end up with three suns? Is this part of our upgrade? So when we think about the primary colors of yellow, blue, and red, if you think of the chakra system, if we're in the yellow sun, if we've had a yellow sun, which is what we've had, that's the solar plexus. That's the place of power. It's the center point in the chakra, in the seven chakra system. Well, the heart's actually the center, but it's close to the center, and it is a power position. So look at what we've been working on here on planet Earth for a long, long time. In the thousands of years, we've been working on our relationship to the dynamics of power. And if we shift and integrate more of a blue sun energy, that is the throat chakra. Blue is in the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is about communication. It's about values. It's about up-leveling through being made aware of the higher evolutionary frequencies. So it's the integration. The blue sun is the closest to the crown, the third eye. It's in this realm. So it's bringing in the wisdom of the ancients, the wisdom of the interdimensional higher frequencies. It's not about those frequencies are better. They just have a different gift. They have a different potency. So let's look. Great question. Here we are. Oh, right. Sorry about that, everybody. My camera flipped off. It did a little nosedive. Okay, so here we have power. We talked about power. So the emperor is the patriarch. He is related to law, authority, the military. It's all about power with the patriarch, with the emperor. Okay, so that's us. That's where we've been. We've been in the yellow sun. What do we need to know about two suns? Aha, Six of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles. Okay, so I want to speculate and say we're getting there, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet. And almost I'm getting the feeling that we need to learn to work with the energy of power in a better way before we get to graduate into some of the other frequencies. Now, are they close? Are they affecting us? Most likely. Let's have a look at recent past. Yeah, I'm hearing even the fact that we've been made aware of these other suns and their influence. This feels like we're drawing the energies of these other suns. Now, interesting. The third sun being red is all about root chakra. It's about, stabilizing into our earthly realm, into our material realm, into our physicality. So I feel like we've come from a red sun. When was that? Long ago. We evolved through a red sun. Now we've been learning about a yellow sun. And we're heading, the blue sun frequency is starting to come in. Look at that. The queen in the blue sky realm. Let's look at the center here. Yeah, it's starting. It's starting. When is this going to really activate and come in, this blue sun energy? Well, I'm going to just throw some numbers out there. Please don't get too attached. When we talk about timing, with the tarot and with any sort of divination and exploration in these ways, it's very hard to pin down time in a timeless realm. So we can basically see potentialities based on where we are right now and the rate which we're evolving at the moment, but all of that could change. So what I'm getting right now is that even this month, even this year, we're going to really be drawing on that blue sun energy, and that's going to be upgrading our consciousness. I am getting maybe in about 6 years, we will be at a place with our power evolution where we are no longer using power dominant models. We are sharing power. This is the card of balance and reciprocity. So it's like we are working with power differently. And interesting, the character is wearing his red robe. There we go. Trying to get this camera to focus on this. He's wearing his red robe, which is related to the earthly realm, the physical realm. He's learning the lessons around power, which is all those yellow pentacles. And he's starting to develop an internal frequency of the blue. Do you see those blue stripes there? He's coming into alignment with that blue wisdom. The wisdom of the blue sun is coming through. Okay, so if it comes through, look at this. Look what we've got in the potential future. 5 of Wands. So it's starting, but we want it to go kind of slow because it's going to cause a lot of, let's just say, frequency. When we're looking at evolving quickly, it means a lot of energy is coming through. If too much comes through too fast, it creates so much reverberation and chaos that it actually does the opposite of what it's trying to do. So I feel like we want it to go slow. We're going to be going through, it's causing all of the upheaval that we're seeing. The blue sun energy that's starting to come in is causing all these old systems that are about power and dominance to shift. So let's just say 5 years of going through that, the shift. And then in the 6th year, we've come into a new experience, a new expression of balance, reciprocity, sharing, generosity. Look at that. How beautiful is that? And let's see the advice cards on either side. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so there's beings on the earth that are working with, look at this, I mean, if you look at the hermit here, he is surrounded in the energy of the blue, the dark, dark blue even, but he's got the yellow in his lantern. So there's something about working with light and darkness is what I'm feeling. And that as we get into the transition between the sun's influence, I don't get, it's interesting you're saying 3 suns, because I get in some level, whether they're going to be visible in the sky or just energetically present, we're going to have all 3 working with us very soon. In fact, we do now. But as you transition from the major influence of one to the next, the one that was gets very weak, is what they're showing me. It gets very, so it's interesting that our sun is doing very strange things right now. It's itself going through a big transition. And so we want to, in a way, honor it. We want to honor it in this transition time. I don't think it just disappears and we have no sun. I don't think that we end up seeing 3 suns in the sky at the exact same time, although we might see 2 for a period of time. But just know that that 3rd one, that red sun, it's here as well, because it's from the epoch, the earlier time. Yeah, look at that, the 3 suns. And they're meant to work in harmony. They're meant to work. And remember what we just saw in Frederick's reading about that 3 pentacles and how it was like a flexible, evolving system. It isn't about locking into a stable, rigid definition of security. This is going to be, in a way, very playful. So on some level, it can feel like a lot of chaos and a lot of challenge with the 5 of Wands. And yet, if we can focus on seeing it as a playful time, this feels really important. And interesting, look at this. Even with these 3 goddesses, we have a red robe, a yellow robe. The 3rd one is not wearing a blue robe yet, but it feels like that time is coming. So, fascinating question. Good question, Angela. Thank you for that. Gosh, I should have had your question up here the whole time. There we go. I haven't done this by myself very much lately, so out of practice. My apologies. Thank you. Okay, Ricky, let's have a check-in with your question. Reported there would be a rolling blackout worldwide to not be disruptive to the masses of humans, but bring justice to the criminal cabal criminals. Okay, yes. This has been an ongoing story. And I want to look at it. Let's look at it. I really think it's a great question. watch me shuffle here. With all of these narratives, what I notice the most when I do my divination and really open up my channels to receive the most, I want to say, let's just say all-inclusive perspectives, what I often hear is that these things function on a variety of different levels. They function, it's almost like we're talking about those three suns, right? They function on the level of just basic, pragmatic, earth-based, material, physical, practical things. They function on the level of working with energies around power and authority, leadership, personal, like breaking out of the self-defeating energy of low self-esteem and moving into the energy of confidence and personal power, sovereign, independent power. And then the highest level of these things is a larger evolutionary level of, there was a reason we went through having the criminal cabal. There was a reason that we've had that we've grown dependent on these artificial systems of what we would call almost life support, right? Like we've forgotten how to, grow our own food. Not all of us, but a lot of people on planet Earth now, if they didn't have these social, economic, political systems in place, would literally starve and die. So it's working with this energy of power and noticing what happens when you give that much power outside of yourself with the promise of making an easier life. So it's not about throwing all of that out. There's so many good things that we've developed in Western civilization, so many amazing upgrades that have happened. But do we want to put all the power into an external body of government, food producers, supply chains and systems? So these blackouts serve a multitude of purposes, I believe. I believe they are a lot about showing us how dependent we've become as well. So let's have a look. Here's us. Will there be rolling blackouts so that it's not disruptive if everything shuts down at once? Okay, interesting. So we are showing up as divine relation, can be partnership and union, but it's also about our relationship to each other. So one of the things I always like to say, the stories of when we've had power outages, people come together differently, right? So there's something going on here about weaving people together, reconnecting them. And then is the reason for the rolling blackout to bring justice to the criminal cabal? I believe that is potentially one of the reasons. And there needs to be, this card, Knight of Swords, he's quite a warrior. Like, he's probably one of the most aggressive, violent cards in the tarot. So is this needing to take a certain approach with the cabal criminals, where it's like, not backing down now that we're in this final lap with them, that we don't slack off and let them gain power again? Possibly, it could be about, but we also have to watch that we don't trip on our own aggression. We don't want to trip ourselves up by just being so motivated by anger. Good boundaries, bringing balance, like it's like working with a bully. If you get that bully into a hold where it can't do any more harm, and then you put that bully through some sort of therapeutic model where it's never, just to destroy it. Like if you go into violence and go, oh, I'm going to, kick the bully to death. What happens in our own psyche when we go that far, when we go too far with something like that, is we end up becoming in certain frequency the same energy as the bully. So we don't need to overdo it here. Yes, we need boundaries, clear boundaries. And we need to not back down at this important juncture, but we don't want to go so far into that frequency of revenge, violence, justice, like the justice of our own sort of vigilante justice. What I always say is, wow, I mean, if we could see karmic justice at its finest, we would not be worrying about making anybody pay. Like it's again, watch how far you go, and then you become that which you are trying to defend yourself from. Okay. Pretty powerful stuff. Past. Oh, look at that. I want to say this feels like it's because we've done such a good job of getting to this point. And yeah, I feel like the stabilization of going at this juncture, not backing down, but also not going overboard, very balanced, looking at win-win-win situations. We've already healed so much that the majority of us watching are at this beautiful frequency. Okay, so we're at a juncture where we choose where we want to go next. 2 6s. Mastery of harmony. Mastery of harmony and balance and sharing, reciprocity, service to the greater good. Wow. This is 2 6s in this little 4 cards so far. We're mastering those qualities while keeping our, let's just say, our boundaries and our borders safe. So I don't know why they're showing it to me that way, but it feels like we can do both. We can, with these rolling blackouts, we can wake ourselves up to go, gosh, I don't know if I want to keep buying into a system where if I don't have power for 24 hours, 3 days, a week, my life is so disrupted. Maybe I want to think about living differently. Maybe not overnight, but maybe I want to start dreaming a new vision of how I'm going to be independent and off grid of some of these centralized power dominant systems. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is about decentralization. So we had a benefit of going into centralization. Now we're going to have a benefit from coming out of centralization. Okay, and then a little preempt the age after this, so 2,500 years from now, we're going into Capricorn, which will be about setting up new systems of organization, rules again. But right now, it's going to be, we're going to go through a very, very long phase of learning to work together in a humanitarian way and to get off these big power dominant centralized grids and get back into the frequency of, self-determination, basically. Okay. Potential future with this. Yeah. So this bodes very well for bringing health back into the system as well. So I think what I'm being shown here is that I always do believe that, cleaning out the swamp, as they're saying, is a good idea. I just think we need to not just stop there. Okay. Like maybe that's a good transition for 4 or 5 years while we're going through a lot of the, tearing down the old. We do still need a stabilized power central system. But let's not stop there. Let's say, you know what? We've learned a lot from this and we're ready to go a little bit more off grid into self actualization, self determination. So yeah, I think you're yes. The answer is it will clean up the swamp. There will be a benefit in doing these rolling blackouts, but we need to think even beyond that, is what I'm getting. Yeah, like slow and steady. And that's also about keeping a degree of stabilization so that we don't just all fall off the deep end, right? Oh, look at this. Look at that. So a real ease. And let's just talk about timing here for a minute. I mean, what is it I heard about? Is it Pluto moving out of Capricorn? Anyway, there's been a very intense dynamic going on for a very long time, and we are going to see the end of that this fall. By the end of November, it will be for 250 years a very different dynamic that's a lot more balanced and more about creating best case new systems, win-win, flexible. So yes, it is a gift. This is a gift for us, an upgrade. And as long as we don't go overboard with the aggression, becoming that frequency that we're trying to defend ourselves for, and we don't just say, oh, good, now we're back into someone's in charge. We've got the swamp cleared, and let's just go back to sleep now. It's like, let them look after us. Okay, like I just feel personally like, okay, I mean, maybe a little breather for sure, but I'm really interested in seeing what we're capable of. We've had our eyes opened, we've had our hearts opened. Maybe now we're going to have our minds opened to what we can create. Cool. All right, let's go to the next question. Janine. Okay. How are things going to go with getting the couple who have been taking advantage? Oh, okay. This is a personal question, Janine. I'm just going to pull quickly 3 cards on your question, and then we'll go on to, let's see, are there other questions? Oh, yeah, spraying the skies. That is such a good question. Oh, my gosh. And winter fuel allowance for pensioners. Okay. So, Janine, you know what? I'm going to put your question at the end just because I've got several questions here that relate to all of us. So we're going to carry on, and I promise you I'll get to back to yours at the end. We've got Valerie. Will the winter fuel allowance for pensioners in the UK permanently be removed? Gosh, I sure hope not. But let's just take a deep breath and face what's happening. Okay. Ooh. Okay. We got a justice card. Put that one on the bottom. Your question. So holding the line. This is the spiritual warrior. I like to say this guy marches to the beat of his own drummer. So there's something about, even energetically, what I'm getting is that there is an aspect of the British psyche that only really kicks into, I want to say, the best version of itself when it has a cause to rally around. I mean, we're all like that, right? We're all like that to some extent. I feel like Britain has a very unique and interesting history, and there are some really ancient roots there that are so divinely inspired, so potent. And I really just get the spirit of the indigenous peoples, the lands long ago. There's something awakening. So I know this seems totally unrelated to the question about fuel allowance, but I want you to really feel into I think sometimes we think about stuff like, oh my God, they're going to pull this away from me, but it's not just you, it's everybody. So if you think that the collective is just going to try to carry on when these things start, I want to say, clicking into place or out of place, it's really about how we respond. And something is going to be lit in the heart of the soul of the UK as a result of exactly what you're asking. So, and it's a positive something. Oh, look at this. I feel like communities are going to rally to protect people and come up with interesting local solutions to this. I mean, I know it sounds a bit far-fetched, but it has happened before. It's not that long ago in the UK that people rallied. I mean, just look at what happened post-war and how communities were rebuilt and like people under pressure come together. So we've gone about as far out as we can go with every person for themselves. Stay in your little cubicle, stay on your device, smartphone, tablet, laptop, and just ignore what's going on around you until it's right down your throat, basically. I think we've kind of come to the end of that. And it feels like we're going to see a rise in local initiatives. It's almost like if government bodies aren't looking after different marginalized peoples in the population, there's going to be more local initiatives. And honestly, I really feel we're going to see this in the next 6 months. So it's so interesting because I was seeing a lot more of the tear down, but I'm seeing at the same time a lot of the humanity's heart opening. So recent past, 8 of Wands. There's a lot going on, right? It's almost like this is what I notice when I look on the news feeds now. I'm just like, everything's extreme. Everything's like at the end of it's this and that, and it's the end of the world here, and it's the end of the world there. And it's like, the drumming everything up to this crescendo of, oh my gosh, right? And yet we're still going about our daily activities, many of us, and finding more and more inspiration, more and more heart-centered motivation. Okay. So, yeah, I do really look at that. 2 6s again. 2 6s again. What does that mean? What that means is we're looking at the energy of harmony, service, reciprocity, sharing, contributionism. We are in a quiet, I want to say subtle, internal revolution going on right now. And the guys are saying, repeat that, a quiet, subtle, internal revolution is happening in the hearts of individuals. Okay, not everybody, right? Not everybody. Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. You can look for evidence and see it everywhere of insanity and despair. However, we're edging into 60%. 60%. It only takes 10 or 20 to change. If it's an up-leveling frequency, it only takes 10 or 20. If we're moving into 60, this is beyond the point of no return. We are healing. So, yeah, I feel like there's going to be advocacy groups. I feel like there's going to be petition letters. Queen of Swords. She gets down to the business of solving the problem with her administrative intellect. Okay, so it's not one size fits all. It's not like we have to make sure that these fuel allowances are kept the way they are right now. We just have to make sure that the need that they're filling is getting filled, right? So if we think this is the only way it can be filled, I feel like there's going to be a lot of initiative. There's going to be advocacy, and it's very likely that they will continue. Maybe they will be reduced, but they will continue. And then there will be other things that fill in that gap, is what I'm getting. Yeah, beautiful. So there is, interesting, they're saying the problems and the solutions, the alternative solutions to the problems, are both leading us to the same conclusions. So and that's this, moving out of troubled water. This is also a traveling card. So there's something about this is a time of looking to connect with the changing systems and continue to move them in a good direction. But are we going to be entirely dependent on these, again, centralized power government models? I don't believe so. I don't believe it's in our best interest ultimately, which doesn't mean that we don't still need that. Maybe for the rest of our natural lives, we're going to need quite a bit of that still in place. But something about it being a little bit harder, and we need to kind of get motivated to get back into the spirit of community-led, solution-based new initiatives. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing. Okay. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Yes, I want to look at this. 77's wild. Is it necessary to continue to spray the skies and slowly stop it? Would it be bad to stop it all of a sudden, or good stuff coming down still happening? Okay. This is one of those topics that just, it's definitely a bee in my bonnet. Let's have a look. I think what's hard for me, everyone, and 77's wild, is I don't really like not knowing what's being done. I don't like, I mean, we're speculating and we're observing through our divination. At the same time, this stuff is literally falling from the sky. And I feel like it would be more in alignment with my understanding of consent, of sovereignty, to at least give those of us that are really passionate about these topics an opportunity to have a voice and literally go to the places where they are being distributed and literally take samples and get evidence of what's really happening. Yeah, it's the non-disclosure part that is hard for me. It's the lack of transparency. It's like, so we have to speculate. I'm open to all of it. I'm open to saying, yeah, it's for our good on some level. Even the challenging chemical sprays it's going to do something to our systems. It's going to force an evolutionary upgrade because of the poison. I don't know. I mean, it's just getting pretty tiresome to see that. Yeah, I'm just really getting sick of it not being right. Look at this. Oh my God, yeah. It's a little bit like the emperor's got no clothes on to me. It's like, why is this not what we should be all talking about this all the time on public forums, on mainstream media, like have the debates, get this out in the open, because it's all, look at this, dark 10 of swords, karmic justice, 9 of swords. There's that little 3 of pentacles in there, the moon. Okay, so I want to look at, if it's okay with you, I want to look at the good side, meaning it's good for us. Eventually, we're going to be shown what's in these chemical sprays. It's going to be more public forum knowledge, and we have, like, literally, you and I could get on a plane and go and investigate and do the testing right there. Like that, the good stuff versus the bad stuff, and why this has been basically relegated to a conspiracy theory, like, another one of those mute points, because people just refuse to look. Like, they kind of go, oh yeah, there's still the majority, like a huge amount of people that just go, oh yeah, those are the contrails from the planes. Like, yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest thorns in my side. I'm like, ugh, because I've seen it and I've known about it for so long, and it just feels really invasive in my world. Okay, so good side over here. I'm gonna do 3 cards. Is it good? How long is it going to continue without at least being like a lot more public discussion? And bad side, are there still dangerous substances that are really not benefiting us in any way? And how long is it going to be before we stop this, or at least get the massive public debate out in the open? Okay, so good stuff. 8 of Wands. Okay, it does look like there's some good stuff. All right. I stand corrected. Okay, so let's take a long approach, 2 years. Shorter approach, 2 months. 8 weeks, it could be just 2 months. 2 months, there is mostly good stuff, and it may go on for another couple of months before it is really brought out into the public forum for discussion, and or it's no longer necessary. Okay, very interesting. Now let's look at the bad stuff. Bad stuff. It's almost all gone. Okay. All right. It looks like 6 of Cups, Page of Cups, 9 of Wands, 90% gone, the bad stuff. So there's just a little bit remaining. I can live with that right now. And are we close? Well, it could be 9 months, could be just 9 weeks. So what I'm feeling right here is that it's going to be soon that this gets really brought out into the public forum, and we have an opportunity to be more involved in how to proceed from this point onwards, right? Like, it's one of the things I get really frustrated by, things like, for example, here in Canada, we're having, of course, as you're hearing, all these in Western Canada, so many forest fires. And then I hear stories about, old timers, which are basically guys not much older than me, but, in their 70s or whatever. And these guys worked in forestry back in the 70s, and they watched the practices get more and more kind of off balance. And they saw where the approach was failing the forestry management, fire protection management. And they tried to speak up back then. They tried to say, no, we can't keep doing this because this is where it's headed. And nobody listened to them. And so now they're going in as retired guys, elders, basically, who've had, 40 years in forestry kind of thing, forestry management. And they're saying, look, we've got ideas of how you can like address the crises that we're in. And there's certain things that we think you should stop right now and things that you should implement right now. And no, the authorities are like, sorry, this is not open for public input. They're like, we're not the public. We're like, but they don't have whatever 5 degrees and live in the nation's capital, thousands of miles away. Like, so it's just things like that I find very frustrating, right? Like, I really feel like that we need to bring the wisdom of people who are in the front line. Not that we take their knowledge over the knowledge of the scholars and scientists and academics, but I feel like, can we not work together, people? Can we not work together to say, okay, you've got this perspective, you've got that perspective, the commonalities are these things, let's start by building those. And then let's just keep observing what nature does and go, okay, I think it's responding well here. Maybe we're going to do a little more of this. Because we forget that the third thing that's in this equation is the natural world. And it has its own like spirit, essence, life force, agenda, evolutionary experience. And so if we just try to constantly control it, manage it, dominate it, direct it, fix it, we need to wait and watch. We need to try some different approaches and then observe very calmly and preemptively, looking at where do we want things to go in the next 15, 20 years, 30 to 50 years, 300 years, and not driven by financial gain and profit, right? So anyway, happy answer to this question. I'm quite relieved. I've been really a skeptic, but I'm happy to see this. Okay, and let me just see what else we have here. As always, if you put your questions in capitals, it's easier for me to just scroll along and have a peek. Looks like power outages, free energy will end that nonsense. I watched. Can I put that up, Leslie Ann? Let's just look at this for a minute. Presenting amazing past info regarding the architecture being collectors of energy. Huh. Interesting. That looks interesting. Forest management personnel would start wildfires for money, being paid to put out the fires. So forest management personnel use forest fires to get paid. Well, I'm sure some of them do. I'm sure, Ricky, that you're right. Some of them probably do. And certainly probably did back in those days. And not all of them, right? These two fellows that I'm referring to, they're friends of a really dear friend of mine, and they're good guys. There's good guys in those worlds too, right? Especially the little guys. So, yeah, there's been massive corruption in these large industries. There's also people that have worked inside of them that kind of have a real sense of what's happening. So we can work together, right? All right, let's just look. Are there many? Christian, are there witches being awakened at this moment to help humanity? I'm going to pop that question up. This is going to be the last one, and then I'll go to Janine's to close off. Well, interesting. I just had the most amazing reading session with an elder. Definitely would not describe himself as a witch or even a druid or anything like that, but he's an elderly Irishman in his 90s. Incredible wisdom and information about the land, the spirits of the land, the ancient traditions of their lands. And he was talking about working with dowsing, interesting enough, which is something that I'm going to be doing a workshop on Beyond Mystic. I'm going to be presenting a workshop on dowsing using pendulum, using dowsing rods, and using dowsing for a whole variety of different purposes. So check that out as it gets closer to the date and we have the info up. I'll post some links here on the lives. But he was referring to these dowsers that went to parts of Scotland where there was legend that the fairy folk and their energy had been basically captured and was being kind of held in the landscape, but it wasn't flourishing. It wasn't free to do the things that those fairy energies do so well, which is keep the lands healthy. And so it was basically some kind of dark magic that had captured those energies and held them at bay. And these dowsers were going in and using dowsing as a way to release those beneficial energies, those beneficial deities that are about keeping landscapes in harmony and balance. And so, we have different kinds of witches, right? We have the dark magic, which is basically the determination for me is dark magic is about using power to dominate and manipulate the will of others and the natural world for benefit without consent. That's basically how I define dark magic. And light magic is about working with energies, people, deities, land, spirits, with consent, which means that you have a way to determine whether or not you've been invited to do the work, for one. And secondly, it is a shared choice of how the healing is going to happen. So we don't just go in and say, okay, I'm going to fix this. We say, what needs to happen? Asking, what do you need from me? And then offering to the best of your ability to be of service to the other. So it's not about your own will. It's about caring for the healing evolution of another with their consent and their request. And it's a very different energy. And it's based on, the first one, the dark magic, is based on the assumption that you have power and that it's your right to use that power however you want, which is when we look at the Cabal, that's basically what that's about, right? Whereas the other is based on the assumption that you are of service to something greater than yourself, and that you are actually not having power for the sake of power. You have the ability to work with power for the benefit of all beings. And it's always like I say to my students when we do divination workshops and tarot and learning to work with your intuition, I say, never have confidence in your ability. It's never about I'm a good reader or I'm a good psychic or I'm a good whatever. Have confidence in your intentions. It is my intention to be of service for the greater good of all in this power neutral frequency of love, which is not about gaining advantage. There's never an advantage when you do positive magic. It's never about I'm going to be like elevated somehow. It's about humbly offering whatever gifts you have to be of service to the greater good of all. And it may not look the way you think it should look. So it's very different, the motivations of those. So when we're talking about witches, I would say, let's have a look at good witches on this side and dark entities on this side. And the dark entities being the ones that I was describing as their motivations are for self-aggrandizement, gaining advantage, and having the ability to control and manipulate others. That's dark magic, right? So let's start by looking at light magic. Spirits of the land. Yay! Oh, wow. Look at this. Look at this, Christian. Look at this. 3 of Wands. That's definitely kind of like an awakening, stirring things up energetically, synchronicity, exploration, spontaneity, adventure. Beautiful. 7 of Wands is holding the high ground. It's valor. So I really feel like both of these representing lands, look at that, like holding the ground, and then the world opening, activating the emergence, the reemergence, these conversations about inner earth and these beneficial spirits being released from kind of a captivity where they've been held under partially for their own safety through these very chaotic times that the Kali Yuga calls the Dark Ages, right? The dark yuga of destructiveness. So yeah, I want to say yes. 3 years, a lot of like reconnecting with these, I want to say witches, beneficial magic, elemental spirits, nature spirits, and 7 years of working with them, right? Remember what I said? This isn't about, having it's all about working collaboratively with consent. And look at that. By the 21, which is the world, so 21 years, oh my gosh, 21 years from now, such an up-leveling of that very beneficial energy. Okay, that's the beneficial one. Let's look at the challenging one. Interesting. So the challenging entities are starting to lose their power. 8 is about the momentum, right? And the 8 of Cups is where things is starting, the dew is off the rose. It's not as exciting as it once was with the 8 of Cups. It feels like an empty victory for the dark forces, right? So they actually are ready to be transformed and brought over to the light. They're ready for an upgrade. And when's that happening? Well, let's say the short timeline, 9 weeks, 8 or 9 weeks, the long timeline, longer, 8 or 9 months, and then of course 8 or 9 years being the great timeline, the biggest version of that. But I really get that we're going to see a lot of like transmutation of the dark force witch type magic into healthy magic. Wow. So exciting. Thank you for your question, Christian. Okay, I'm going back up to Janine. Where's your question? Gosh, it's way up at the top. So while I'm doing this, I just want to basically remind you all to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. As I mentioned, next week, I'm going to have Crystal and Anita and myself answering your questions, and we're going to be launching our big fall campaign with all kinds of new services, promotional packages, and pretty cool, exciting stuff. Some interviews. So look forward to seeing you here next week. Janine, I'm going to jump your question up here. How are things going to go with getting these people removed from your home? Now, Janine, I'm going to just say this, even for everybody watching. Let's imagine that we're talking about getting these energies that are very, I want to say, vampiric, parasitic, that are still feeding on us. Like it's what we're looking at collectively with the dark force energies. How do we get this off of us? How do we complete the job and finally make those boundaries? And so I think for each of us, this is a different battle. It comes out in our personal lives. It comes out in our physical bodies, working with parasitic energy. I mean, so much of what's been pushed around, in terms of illness and, like these viruses and so on, to me is a lot of parasitic energy, because it's so fascinating that anti-parasitic medication, like what that we all know about, uh, from a few years back, um, it it works for the symptoms of both the virus and the complications as a result of the jabs. So we're clearly looking at, if this is anti-parasitic medication that actually alleviates these symptoms, clearly we're looking at a parasitic energy. Like whatever this is, it's a type of parasite. So we're dealing with the parasitic energy, and we're dealing with it in our personal lives. We're dealing with it in our, health, our physical bodies, and we're dealing with it energetically on a kind of collective global level. So let's see. Your success, Janine, is very much tied to every one of us that takes a little step in this realm in our personal lives or in our physical health. We're helping all of us. So we're rooting for you, Janine. Let's have a look. Oh, lovey. Yeah, right? So look at this. Oh, I got the chills for you, Janine. Okay, so, there's something really here about, can you transform? And this is a message for all of us. This isn't just for Janine. Can you take, this is, if you ever wanted, ask any tarot reader, what two cards would represent victimhood? It would be these two. Three of Swords beside the Eight of Swords. Victimhood. We all have it. We all experience it. We all suffer from this disease of the mind, which is, oh, the world's out to get me. I mean, I get it sometimes just because, I can't find a parking spot for the fifth day in a row and drive around and I'm late for work. And I feel like, okay, they're out to get me. Like, I get the odds of that. And then all these great things happen, but I focus on the, oh, poor me, right? Whatever. Like, there's so many ways that we go into this victim mentality. We go there. We've been trained. We have been literally programmed. Down the hall you go into victimhood. Not just you, Janine, all of us, okay? So this is something we have tremendous power over. And one of the best ways to work with it is to say, how could this be good for me? What could be good about this? What could be good about this? What could be good about the fact it took so long? What the guides are saying is not just one reason, but you got to challenge yourself to come up with 3 reasons and wait 8 days. Hold the perspective of 3 reasons that whatever it is that you feel victimized by could be good for you, and hold it for 8 days. And this is a repatterning. I don't know, I've never heard it before, but how cool is that? Your guides are bringing us, Janine. 3 reasons that this could be good for you, and hold that perspective. Every time you feel victimized perspective coming in, go, no, just 4 more days. I'm going to go over those 3 reasons why this could be good for me. Whatever it is, 3 reasons, 3 solid reasons why this is a good thing. Whatever it is, something terrible has happened, right? You've lost a beloved or a pet. Something tragic has happened, or you can't get these people out of your house for months and years, or whatever it is, look at 3 reasons that Spirit is trying to help you grow through this experience, and hold those 3 as your primary perspective for 8 days. And then it changes. Spirit gives you the upgrade. Done. So get back to us, Janine. Get back to us in 8 days. Do your very best to hold this perspective of 3 reasons why this is good for you. I know it sounds really contrived and kind of maybe a little bit like hopefully new agey woo-woo, but I have noticed, and it's good advice for me too. Boy, is it good advice. And I think for all of us, I have noticed that the sooner I can get myself out of victim mentality into like, something's happening here. Spirit is doing something on my behalf. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And boy, I wish they would have found a better way to do it. Right? Like, do I really need to be banged over the head 10 times? Like, come on. But I don't know. Maybe I do. And we just see what happens and how we grow. Because it doesn't always make sense, right? Evolution does not always make sense to us. But there's a momentum. Victimhood has a very strong, it's a locked in, you ain't going anywhere. Look at her. She's like locked into that. And it just creates more and more and more and more and more and more of the same thing that you're trying to get away from. So not only do you want these people out, you want to not have this energy in your life anymore, anywhere. So somehow recognizing the gift, the silver lining, is part of releasing it permanently. All our best wishes with that, Janine. So much love to you all. It's 11:111. Going to end the stream now. Bye.